All right, joining us now, Liz Peek, syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor, and Steve Forbes, Forbes Media chairman and editor-in-chief. You saw the interview. There's lots of other things to talk about. But Steve Forbes, he's a smart guy, Jameson Greer, doing what the president is asking him to do. You're not happy, let me guess, healthcare, pharmaceuticals. You don't like price controls. Gee whiz, that's a shocker.
Yeah, that's
Steve Forbes on price controls.
Yeah, well, putting price controls on the pharmaceutical industry just guarantees what's happened in Europe. You get less innovation, which means we're going to have a less healthy future.
But if you build here, if you build a pharmaceutical plant here, like a Tylenol plant, that was a joke, a bad joke. But if you build a plant here,
gives me a headache.
You won't get the tariff. You won't get tariffed.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be dependent on if you need a medication. They shouldn't be putting on price controls. There are various ways you get plants to locate here, which is part of what they've done in terms of reducing taxes, in terms of reducing regulations. But this force thing of trying to force trade, that's going to be a two-way street. And we set a terrible precedent for when the bad guys eventually get back into power. And national emergency, climate change, we know where that's going to lead. So let's do it by the rule book. If they want a tax, pass a tax in Congress. If they want to put on price controls, do it through Congress. Aren't
our generics much cheaper than anything else on the market? It's a small number that we're talking about here.
It's the nose under the tent, camel's nose under the tent. We know where it can lead.
Can I disagree with you for once in my entire life? During COVID, we discovered that we are incredibly dependent on China for not only prescription drugs, but a lot of over-the-counter medications that people depend on. And it was appalling to me that having discovered that, the Biden administration did absolutely nothing to onshore pharmaceutical manufacturing. We've got the entire apparatus in Puerto Rico available to regenerate manufacturing here for pharmaceuticals. So with respect, if it takes putting on tariffs, if it takes draconian measures to get pharmaceuticals made in the U.S., I'm all for it.
Trouble is, taxes on rarely come off. And in terms of China, that's absolutely right. And there are ways to get to the pharmaceutical companies, which the Biden administration did not do. Say, we've got a national security problem here. Puerto Rico used to have very juicy tax incentives, which is why it went to a great drug manufacturer. Put those incentives back. Puerto Rico needs it. So I've seen this movie before. We can do it here. Just have to do it in a way in which you get real results, and they'll do it more quickly than they will with a gun to their head.
Can I ask you about a separate subject? H-1B visas is a big debate. We really haven't had that discussion, H-1B. So $100,000 for new enrollees, not all, but new. Some people are saying there are not enough Americans who can fulfill. This is mostly techie stuff, I take it. But maybe there are enough Americans. I mean, maybe it's a very unpopular thing in New York and Wall Street circles, but maybe Trump is right.
So I would say what we're seeing right now, there are reports coming out of computer-heavy schools that are training computer engineers and so forth, that they can't get jobs. So it could well be that Americans right now are actually becoming available. I did research on this a few years ago when this whole issue of H-1B visas and expanding the number became a real issue. There are an awful lot of Americans who feel that the tech companies took advantage of those visas to pay people less. I mean, it was a very simple thing. And I think Disney, and I can't remember why Disney was in the mix of this, but there were some big companies that were attacked for having underpaid foreign workers by this route. So if this $100,000 price tag makes that a reasonable kind of calculation. In other words, if you're a company and there's only two guys who can do what you want and you have to pay $100,000, in tech world, that's nothing. That's a pittance for hiring a high-tech person.
I mean, I think it's exactly lost in the shuffle. And I read, even the vaunted Unleash Prosperity hotline. I think they're wrong because they're going to pay these Indians $65,000 a year when the job is worth $125,000 to $200,000 a year. Why not just go to Stanford or Berkeley or all these California schools? There's schools all across. Everyone's teaching technology. Everyone's teaching math. We've learned our lesson. I don't know.
Well, and again, programmers up until now were in short supply. I don't think they are anymore because of AI.
Well, those things change, and we want to have access to the best brains around the world. And yes, there were abuses in H-1B. You fix the abuses if somebody's gaming, and there's certain companies that were gaming it. But you deal with the specific problem. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And in terms of $100,000, who's that going to hurt the most? It's going to hurt startups. They don't have necessarily the wherewithal, the margins to play that kind of game. So get rid of the abuses, bring in the people who are good, have brains. We want them to stay here. We need all the talent we can get. And even though we have a slowdown now, slowdowns hopefully are not going to last forever. They never do. They never do.
At the stroke of midnight, the government will shut down, Liz Peek. Are you waiting anxiously?
So anxiously.
Is this a big thing? Is this going to affect the stock market, the bond market, commodities market, any other market? Is it going to affect any part of American life that you could possibly think of, except they might knock off another couple of 100,000 federal workers who would have to get jobs? By the way, they can get jobs at the tech companies.
So I think it's really hilarious that people are talking a lot about the fact that we may not get the jobs report on Friday, which is a statistic that I find completely questionable. And, if anyone's really making serious decisions based on that BLS, I did say BLS statistic, I would really be surprised by that. But no, I think the Trump administration has made it clear that instead of simply furloughing people, this could be an opportunity to shut down, by the way, some of the hundreds of bureaus and directorates and agencies that don't even meet, that don't have any particular activity. I've gone through and looked at some of these. There are a ridiculous number of outfits in the federal government that do zero.
Schumer is giving them an opportunity to do what they could not do legislatively. That's the thing that blows me away.
Yeah, he's beaten up by the far left when he did this thing in March, realizing what the implications would be. But the really big news tonight, Larry, is the playoffs with the Yankees.
Yes.
You've noticed what happened in civilization since the Yankees last won the World Series, 2009. We've had inflation,
downhill.
we've had wars. We need a World Series win to get the world right. So that's the big event tonight.
It took a while to circle back to that, but good work. You really did a good job on that.
He's always right. He's always right. And Liz Peek's going to the theater, and we'll all say a prayer for Jeff Peek. We'll use Google. Anyway, Liz Peek and Steve Forbes, thank you very much.